Support from the show comes from Gameplayware. Gameplayware has a wide variety of nerdy and geek-related apparel. Go to www.gameplaydwear.bigcartel.com and use the promo code theb&btavern to get free shipping on clothes. Want cool dice sets and other tabletop accessories at a low price? Head on over to darksilverforge.com and use the promo code theb&btavern to get 15% off your purchase. And support from listeners like you. Thank you.
My name is Baylor, and welcome to the B&B Tavern Show, Tavern Talk, where we take extraordinary people of extraordinary measures, no matter what day or time, night or day, sunset, dusk, dawn, a lot of different time sets, it's all meaning where the sun is, and make them have imaginary friends with numbers. It's your friendly neighborhood storyteller. With me, I have a guest of great importance, who truly is strong as a tree and light as a feather. It is none other than, I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Hello! How am I supposed to follow up from an introduction to that? Well, hello everybody listening in. I am Sean Chiplock, also known online as Sonic Mega, because I'm so creative that I took my two favorite blue video game characters and mashed their names together into a name that even a 13-year-old would find cringy as heck. You may know me as a professional voiceover artist, having voiced such recent roles as Revali from The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, the Great Deku Tree from the same game of the same name, and of course Teba, this very rough bird, and of course a number of other roles, Navarre and Shimigami Tensei 4 Apocalypse, Kiyotake Ishimaru from Danganronpa, Santa from the Nonary games 999, and a whole host of other stuff. But we're not here today for me to talk about my roles. We're here to talk about doing some rolls to find out what stats my supposed character would have.
I like your segues, sir. I like your segues as very much. We got Sean in the building, y'all. Welcome to the show, Sean.
Yeah.
It's good.
I don't have a segue, but you know what? You can have all the segues you want. Let's segue it up.
Well, it was a beautiful segue with the rolls. That was great. Well, speaking of roles, like every other, he knows his role. His role is to create a brand new character and a brand new story on our show, just like every other guest we've had, as he follows a great list, long line of people we've had that are yet to air. Special, sneaky, special guests, and you can't even see this. Only us can see. This is an audio-only podcast, but we like to see each other's faces. Now, the way this is going to go down is I'm going to ask a series of questions and be sort of like a therapist in some way, or psychiatrist, and whatever you want to feel.
I graduated from college. I don't want to deal with all these questions. I didn't study for this.
It's a pop quiz. It happens time to time. It's just, think of it more of like a survey. A survey. Everybody loves a good survey. Everybody wants to hear their opinion heard. So we're going to hear your opinions on what you think would be a good character for you to voice as. So, in the world of medieval fantasy, are you ready to begin, Sean?
I am ready to begin.
Excellente! So, to start off, not to sound like a Pokemon professor, but are you a boy, a girl, or other?
Definitely a boy. I would say in my life experience, I'm pretty content with being a dude, and that wouldn't change in the virtual realm.
Fair enough. It's always good to stick to what you know. Now it's time to establish the list of races. Now I'm going to run these down like an auctioneer. Some you may recognize from previous experience. Some of them you may have never heard of.
Ask for more details on any of them if they sound interesting?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
How did you know? That was amazing.
I don't know.
Whoa!
Christian magic?
Is some kind of dark wizarding. So, are you ready to go?
Let's do it.
Alright, you could be an Aarakocra, an Ozimar, Bugbear, Dragonborn, Dwarf, Elf, Furbolg, Genside, Gnome, Goblin, Goliath, Half-Elf, Half-Orc, Halfling, Hobgoblin, Human, Kenku, Kobold, a Lizard Folk, Orc, Tabaxi, Tiefling, Triton, or Yuan-Ti.
You know, I actually think I know some of those words.
What?
What? Wow. Okay. What were those first three? Because that just threw me for a loop to start with. Yeah. What were those first three?
I'm glad you asked, Sean. Well, the first one's an Aarakocra, which is eagle folk,
Okay.
humanoid eagles, and Ozimar is sort of like a demigod,
Okay.
a diva, if you will, and then
Okay.
a bugbear is a type of giant, an elven giant, if you will,
So this is the race portion.
or yes.
Okay. So what was after? Do you have the list in front of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Go ahead and slowly go through after those first three. Go through each of them, and I'll stop you when I'm interested in knowing
All
the
right.
details. Because I
Sounds
like to.
good.
I hate to be specific, but I'm the kind of person who likes
No,
to learn
no,
about
that
all
makes
the
you want to do a
options.
good job. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So, Dragonborn.
I know that. Keep going.
Dwarf.
Okay.
Elf.
Okay.
Furbolg.
What's a furbolg? I heard furball. I didn't know it was a furbolg.
Furbolg is a elven giant.
Elven giant. Okay. Keep going.
Genocide
What is that?
is a elemental humanoid.
Elemental. Ooh. Like
they-
they're made of an element, or
They are partly element, partly human. So, there is one's made out of air and humanoid,
we
and
might come back to that.
fire
Keep
and
that-
earth
keep that on
and
the-
water.
Keep that on the short list.
Sure.
Keep that on the short list. Keep going.
Alright. Gnome,
Okay.
goblin,
Okay.
Goliath,
Okay.
half elf,
Half elf. All right.
half orc,
Half orc.
halfling,
All right.
hobgoblin,
Okay.
human,
Pretty basic.
yeah, kenku,
What's a kenku?
raven people.
Ooh.
That, They talk through patterns that they've heard people through conversations say.
Oh,
and
this
they
is
relay the
tough.
sense.
Because like with the whole Rivali thing, like I've been reading for so many bird rolls recently that are they capable of flight?
These ones are not.
Ooh, okay. All right. That makes it a little tougher to decide. But what do they look like? Describe them to me.
They tend to be very short, about 3 foot tall. It is, if you would imagine, sort of, the best way to explain it is, take a raven, put in humanoid body, make it a little more plump, and have sort of feathery hands. And
What do they wield?
Depending on their class.
Okay.
So,
Keep that on the short list. Keep going.
all right, kobold.
What's that? Oh, kobold. Right.
Yeah. Well, there's Furbolg, and then there's Kobold. The Kobold's a little lizard folk person.
Yeah, I know those. Yep.
Nice. Lizard folk themselves. Orc. Tabaxi.
What's tabaxi?
Tabaxi are cheetah folk.
Ooh, okay.
Tiefling.
Okay.
Triton.
Okay.
And Yuan-Ti.
What's 1T?
Serpentine people.
Serpentine people. So I think based on what I've heard, I would narrow it down to either the elemental human assuming an element of lightning or electricity. Either that.
Unfortunately, there are no electric elements. The elements
Then
are
never
earth.
mind, it's been chosen. We're going.
Oh!
Wait.
Crow boy it is!
Oh boy, it is.
All
Let's
right.
go. Goalie.
Kenku, all right. How old is your Kenku?
19.
19. Good age. It's a good young age for a crow boy. How tall is your crow boy? Or how short?
You said they average 3 to 4 feet?
Yep.
I'd say he's a little on the taller side. Let's go 4'11", 5.
4'11", 5.
Yeah, so 4'11" or 5 feet.
All right, 4'11" it is.
Yeah.
Are they more of a muscular built, or are
Nope.
they a little more? Oh, okay, very slim. Uh, okay, so then
They would
adjusting.
definitely prefer agility over brute strength. They would
There's-
want to use their cunning more than their brute
They have
force.
they have more of a silver tongue than a silver sword.
Yep. They like to talk their way out of trouble rather than sort it through their fists.
Yeah, that's fair. And what is their alignment? Are they lawful good, lawful neutral, lawful evil, neutral good, true neutral, neutral evil, chaotic good, chaotic neutral, or chaotic evil? Decisions, sir.
Lawful good, neutral good, chaotic good, and then what is okay, right. Neutral what is it? It's lawful good, neutral good, chaotic good, right?
Those are good.
And then there's lawful neutral, true neutral, chaotic neutral, stuff like that.
Lawful good, lawful neutral, lawful evil, neutral good, true neutral, neutral evil, chaotic good, chaotic neutral, or chaotic evil.
I would say he is chaotic good. He looks for the good in things, but sometimes he likes to go about accomplishing things in rather unorthodox ways, and they're not always the most agreeable, but he has good intents in mind.
That is fair. That is fair. Always good to be like a Pop-Tart, crazy good. So now to decide how your character goes about life with their fancy gadgets, their class. So your classes can be Barbarian, Bard, Cleric, Druid, Fighter, Monk, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue, Sorcerer, Warlock, or Wizard.
What's the difference between Ranger and Rogue?
A Rogue is Assassin's Creed, basically. Hidden daggers, jumping off buildings, parkour, stabby stab. A Ranger is a very extreme Boy Scout with a bow and arrow.
I want to say I'm wondering what his affinity for spellcasting is. I don't want to railroad too much into like what would be Rivali, but I've always figured that if I were going to be a character in a fantasy element, I would probably be a spellcaster or somebody who relies on, sneak attack, surprise stuff.
Sure.
Because if I tend to brute force it, if people close the distance in on me, I can freak out and not really know how to react. And when you're in the thick of the fight, if the tide goes the wrong way, I'm the kind of person who wants to try and find a different approach rather than just, well, I'm stuck doing this now. Let's hope I don't die before they do. So
that is true. Now, I do remember you messaging me on Facebook that this was something a little more along the lines of you wanted to be able to use animals to your aid.
That's true. And that also makes me curious about how, because I know this is fantasy and that, you can have an orc who's able to make animal friends. It doesn't necessarily have to make sense.
Yeah.
But I like things to have a pattern of logic. So I'm trying to think of like what class would be. It feels like, is there a wizard class that relies on not necessarily necromancer, but is there a magic-based class that I don't want to brainwash animals, but what is a class that would befriend them?
I know exactly what you're talking about. The magic using class that would be is I like to call them vegan wizards, but they're called druids.
Druids?
Yes, a druid is a elemental caster. They use elements of the earth to their advantage, and then also they can commune with animals and convince them and tell them to do certain things if they know what to do.
I like that. A creature of the sky that's affinity with earth is a very nice contrast. I think we can go with that.
Sure. And it is very easy to make sort of earth animal-based companions as well, so it's not impossible.
So what is the focus of their earth spells? Like I imagine fire might be more offensive. What do a lot of their earth-based magics focus on?
Earth, water, wind, and fire. But they do have some other things additionally, like the electricity that you wanted.
Oh, do they have access to all the different magics?
No, that would be a bard. A bard would be able to access pretty much everything, but however, a druid is able to access all elements things, and they also use some other nature like things like poison and
Oh yeah, that's
you know
right up my alley.
they have able to conjure earth things like a thorn whip.
Yeah, that's definitely right up my alley. Being able to switch up what my tactics based on the fight or the enemy, that is having utility like that is extremely important.
You are the most vegan Swiss Army knife in the world. That is probably the best way to describe it.
Wait, does that mean I can only eat salads?
I mean, no, you can you can eat meat. I just call them vegan wizards because that just seems fun to call them that.
Yeah.
They can be vegan if you want. Why did your character become a vegan? Why did your character become a druid?
Why did he become a druid?
Yeah.
Tell me more about this race of class. Like, what are their specialties as their species? What are they known for?
They are known to be sly, quick, cunning, tend to be great people for henchmen-like things, and for crime rings and whatnot. However, there have been some known to be very noble, but that tends to be, but like again, the history of one's race. I do not like their characters to be dictated off of unless requested. Because, there's always going to be that one person that breaks the stereotype of something.
Okay. So it's the henchman thing. I'm just trying to focus back on what the character looks like in my head. Why he would be chaotic good.
Well, don't worry about the way the character looks inside your head, because soon enough after the show, you can send our description to us, and we'll have our illustrator, Andy, make you a character self-portrait.
Oh my god. All right. But you said they're not capable of flight, correct?
They're not capable of flight, no sir.
Okay. All right. I would say the reason why he chose to become a druid was obviously based on his stature, his build. He never really was much of one for fighting, but he had always found that as a result of him being an animalistic species in a way, that he had an easier time building or gaining the trust of the creatures around him. And he even took solace in that fact, because while there are plenty of people who accepted him for who he was, there are always those people who think that, certain species are superior to others, and it can get a little annoying. So he took solace in the fact that, animals just look to survive. And so if you're not a dick to them, if they feel like that they won't die by hanging around you, they will. And it's a pretty simplistic but easily attainable relationship. So that's how he got into wanting to be with nature. As for the magic, I guess it was just a common follow-up, because the best way to understand those you're trying to be friends with is to understand what they interact with, the environment. If you want to make friends with the birds, get used to the trees that they perch on. If you want to understand how the foxes and all the burrowing creatures of the earth live, you should understand how the earth works. So he figured, what better a way to protect myself and those around me than by understanding how to use my environment to my advantage. Anybody can understand a sword and break it. Anyone can damage a piece of equipment, but not everyone who fights in a certain terrain is going to know what that terrain is capable of, or what someone is capable of doing with it. So if you do know and they don't, that's a huge advantage in combat.
That's fair.
And so he figured, as someone who is silver-tongued, what better a way, if I'm going to spend more of my time trying to calculate the next thing to do, the next thing to say, why not go into battle feeling like I already have a leg up on whoever I'm facing? As long as I have the potential for the element of surprise, nothing will really be out of my reach.
They are a guardian of nature.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I like that a lot. So, the question is are they physically strong at all?
Definitely not. They would
Okay.
rely on their fellow party members. I mean, I would say if they were to be compared to like an average human, they may be capable of throwing a couple punches, but I assume because of their body structure and the fact that they have wings, even if they're not capable of flight, they're going to have a thinner bone structure than most. So they can defend themselves, but if they're trying to punch anything that's harder than Jello, they're going to risk doing some damage to themselves.
Fair enough. Are they dexterous, though?
Yes. I feel like, based on what I know about the species, that's why I asked if they were capable of flight, because it would have worked very well with being a rogue or a ranger if they were, being able to, quickly escape, find a better vantage point.
Sure.
But since they aren't, then it doesn't work very well with the archery because their only point of firing arrows is from the ground. And the same with if they were throwing daggers and stuff like that. So he is dexterous, but because he's not as dexterous as he could be if he were capable of flight, that's also part of why he decided to ask the environment to help him out.
Sure. And do they have good stamina?
When they feel in control, if it's a very emotion-based thing, when he starts off a fight, if he's like, I've got everything at my disposal, if he's got great trust in his allies, especially if the tide of the battle is in his favor, he has all the energy he can find to spare. He wants to keep being involved. He wants to keep going. He doesn't want to let up. But if something seems hopeless, or if it's out of his control, or if nothing he's doing seems to work, and he's run out of options, he kind of gets into his own head. That's the chaotic good. He can burn with a super, super intense fire, but if he gets frustrated, he can destroy himself with his own panic, his own stress.
I like that. And are they intelligent?
There's different kinds of intelligence. Does Dungeons and Dragons differ between, like, spell intelligence and street smarts and intelligence in regards to, like, speech?
It separates between intelligence and wisdom. When they talk intelligence, they're talking about historical intelligence. And then when they're talking about wisdom, are they able to view the world in certain things? If you were, say for example, you were looking at a bookshelf, and you're trying to find that book that may be a lever to a secret door, that would be using your wisdom because you're investigating.
Okay.
As opposed to, I've seen this amulet before. What does it mean? I would make an Arcana check, which is your intelligence, because you're trying to find out your intelligence on your historical stuff.
Well, this is one where I'd play I hope this doesn't annoy you, but there may be cases where I'm like, I'm not sure which applies, so I'm going to describe how I feel he would be as a character and trust you to pick what would apply best. Is that
Absolutely.
okay?
Go ahead, Sean.
This is somewhere where I think I draw from myself, where he would do very well. Like I said, as he becomes familiar with the environment, that's part of why he wanted to be a druid, is because
of course,
if he's familiar with all terrains, then no matter where he fights, he'll have some sense of familiarity. That's his means of covering for his weakness of when he feels out of place, he can get frustrated and get in his own head. So he is a kind of person who may not necessarily. He's eager to learn. Once he learns about how to do something, he will find the most efficient way to utilize it in the future, so that when he comes across in the future, he already knows what he can do with it. But as a starting point, maybe he's clueless about a lot of stuff, or maybe he relies on a certain routine. So when something new is presented, he's not sure what to do with it at first. He may, when a brand new situation comes up, he's probably not the first person in the party to be like, I know what we should do. he's more likely to just kind of wait for others to make a decision and then offer his assistance. But once he's gotten past that obstacle, he'll remember it for next time. And he'll be like, well, what worked? What didn't? And whenever it comes up in the future, he'll have a much better idea of what to do. So the first time probably won't be a leader. In the future, if he's familiar with it, he'll totally take the reins.
All right. I like that. I got that. Okay. So
I know it's really detailed, but I'm putting a lot of
no,
trust in
it's
you.
great. It's doing a great job. All right, I put more points into wisdoms, knowing that they would be probably because of their perception and their irises and whatnot and the way they work.
Right.
They would be probably more wiser, as in the sense of being able to be more well observed, being very perceptive, able to read body language.
Similar to a lot of crows and ravens, like, you know, you put them in an obstacle course, they may not understand what to do at first, but they'll keep trying until they find something that works. And then once they complete it, if you have them do the same obstacle course, they keep getting faster and faster and faster at doing the same task.
Sean, I have a question.
What?
When you became Rivali, how much bird stuff did you research?
You know what? I'm a big lurker. Like, speaking off of D&D for a moment, a lot of my friends, and especially my fiance, refer to me as the encyclopedia of useless information that you never needed to know, but still find pretty interesting anyway. So just in the time that I've spent, like, just finding random links and reading stuff that pops up, random Wikipedia articles, I learned a bunch. I learned a lot of random info. You know, I'll see a video about ravens learning obstacle courses.
So you'd be the one that would be like the conqueror of pub quizzes.
Pretty much.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Well, you know, it's always good to have that information here because you never know. So now it's time for the proficiency in skills, which means if you are proficient in a skill, when you roll your d20, you'll be able to add a modifier on top of that number that you rolled in the d20. If you're proficient in it, it's a higher bonus, so more likely to succeed in that task. Let's say, for example, right now, because of your character's history and the story of your character, he is proficient in being athletic. So if you want to say, I would like to climb this tree, that's fine. Make me an athletics check. I would ask you to roll a d20 on top of that athletics, and if you're proficient, which you are, you're more likely to succeed in that task than others.
So, for example, you know, if the check pass was a 10 and I had a +3, but I rolled an 8, obviously the +3 modifier would make it an 11. I would actually pass that check.
Yeah, if it was like a very simple tree, yes.
Right.
If it's a very complicated tree trying to attack you, that would be death.
That would.
No. So because of your history of your story, the story of your character, you are proficient in athletics and survival. You are the ultimate Boy Scout bird. But you can be proficient in 4 other skills. You can be proficient in acrobatics, animal handling, arcana, deception, insight, medicine, nature, perception, religion, sleight of hand, or stealth.
Can you put that list into me via Skype? And because I already heard 2 that I'm interested in, but it'll be easier if I don't make you have to repeat it.
I will run it down a little more slowly, and you can say yes or no.
Yeah,
you have 4 options. All right.
So we have
acrobatics.
Acrobatics, and you said animal handling?
Yes, sir. Arcana.
Arcana.
Deception.
Deception.
Insight.
Just go ahead and keep going. Insight.
Medicine.
Medicine.
Nature. Perception.
Perception.
Religion.
Religion.
Sleight of hand.
Sleight of hand.
And stealth.
Stealth.
Ba-ba-ba-ba-da-ba. That's all.
Okay. Animal handling is definitely one of them. What is the difference? What is Arcana? Like actual magic attack spells?
No, it's just knowledge of magical items and things. Like,
okay. What about,
I know how long this spell
is. Nature seems pretty broad.
No, it's just, knowledge of nature. Just like, I know this flower. This can be found in da-da-da-da-da. So say, for example, somebody used this flower as a calling card. You would go like, oh, well, this flower can only be found this, so then maybe there's only a flower shop that could sell these things, and maybe that's where the person gets their calling cards and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think. I'm interested in... So animal handling is definitely one of them. Like,
okay.
That's absolutely...
Do you want Arcana?
I'm thinking about it. I'm also looking at acrobatics right now, but I'm trying to think of how that would function for a druid. How do spells work in this universe? Is it via scrolls? Is it via incantations?
It depends on each person. So right now, you conjure your arcanic energy through the elements of the earth. You learned how to channel the elements of the earth, and you cast it through a quarterstaff.
Through a quarterstaff.
But that's
so that
more,
doesn't.
But that's sort of like basically in a sense of being able to Cyclops focus your energy, kind of thing.
Okay. So presumably, like, if that means I wouldn't have to be standing still in order to use a spell. So in like a potential situation, like, would I be able to raise a sudden amount of earth underneath me and use the inertia of it moving me up to do like a super jump or something like that?
I don't know. It depends. I would say
Like a vault. If I were to use it like a vault to help me get up over something.
No, that would require a lot of concentration. It is very hard to take up a piece of earth and just.
Okay. All right.
But say, for example, you wanted to summon a thorn whip, just right at just out of thin air to latch on as like a grappling hook thing to climb up to a thing. You could definitely do that.
Okay.
That's
I
easier
would say
than pulling out earth.
I would say, so would that be Arcana or Nature that would be a better focus?
I mean, both are just knowledge of things. They don't actually have any effect on how you cast your spells.
Ah, okay. This is tough. This is really tough. Well, we can definitely knock out religion. Not interested in that.
Okay.
We could probably knock out. No, you know what? I actually would go medicine, because part of his ability to connect with nature or to rely on it helping him is that he would expect that if someone's going to help him, he expects that he'd have to help them as well. So he's like, well, why should I keep calling? Why should animals want to help me out if they are just going to get hurt and I can't take care of them? So that's part of the good, is he would want to provide and reward those who helped him. So we would also do medicine.
All right.
That would be our number 2. I would say, give me more. What's the difference between perception and insight again?
Insight's the reading of body language. Perception is looking for something around the room or area.
Okay. Perception is definitely more important. Since he's not someone who wants to use brute force, he's going to try and find anything that would, he's going to look for alternative solutions. So I feel like that would be important for him.
Sure.
Also because perception would allow him, he may notice things that are out of his reach, but that, either nature or the use of nature or the use of animal friends, he can reach. Maybe I'm not capable of flight, but my bird friend can fly up there.
Sure.
So that's animal handling, medicine, perception, either acrobatics or arcana. What would having a good focus in acrobatics, what would someone who's adept with acrobatics be capable of?
Sort of jumping from branch to branch.
Okay. But it still takes a lot of concentration for his spells, correct?
Depending on what spell it is, yes.
Okay. They both are good, but based on what I'm going for, I would say Arcana, just because I feel like a focus in Arcana would help him in not only having maybe I'm thinking of it wrong. You can correct me if again getting too far into a different type of RPG element. But having a stronger focus in Arcana would make it easier for him to have more potent magical abilities or castings, more potent medicine, or better knowledge of what medicine to use.
Medicine itself would be that. Arcana would be more about actual knowledge of spell themselves, like. What's the range? How long will the spell last? Does this potion work?
You know what? That solidifies it.
And go ahead.
that solidifies it, because if it would also include like stuff of knowing how long the spell would last, part of the perception is what can I combo together that I know? Like, do I have enough time for one of my friends to follow up with this based on how many turns or how much time it would need or how much time the effect would last?
Yes.
Also efficient when using things like you said, like poison or any restrictive spells. How much time do we have to maximize so that he would want to prevent any of his friends, animal or allies or otherwise, from putting themselves in a situation where the enemy breaks free or otherwise recovers from a certain situation without having enough time for them to get safe.
Like, for
away.
example, if you, pause time on a specific person, you're like, okay, I need to know how long this lasts and how much time we have to get out of here, kind of thing.
Right, that's important.
Yeah.
So I would say for sure the 4 animal handling, arcana, medicine, and perception.
I say that is very efficient of you, sir, and you get 5 out of 5 for that.
I'm a total min-maxer. When it comes to dungeon crawler RPGs in real life, I am all about figuring, especially if there's like subclassing, I love figuring out what classes mix well together and why. So like if there's a character who has a very high defensive measure or is able to like guard themselves and randomly reduce damage, I'll also make them a knight because then they can guard the whole party.
You sound like a proper connoisseur.
Right. Yeah. So a huge fan of that.
All right. Well, I respect to you. Now, there's only one question left.
Okay.
What is your name?
What is the name? This is the part. This is why it's an hour-long show. It's 20 minutes of building, 40 minutes of creating your name.
Yes, that's exactly it.
So here's where it gets interesting, because I would want to be unique, but I also like to keep things that, for example, a long time, because one of my favorite Pokemon of all time has been Lux, or Luxray. I would often go by just Lux, Lux. But one time when I was role-playing a character, their name wasn't known to anybody else. It was all just personal stuff, but they were also known as Jet, Jett. And but this is also a fantasy setting, so I'm trying to think of something that would be befitting. It wouldn't be too exotic. It wouldn't be like Native American, like Spirit He Who Dances with Wolves sort of thing. But, oh man.
Daryl.
Daryl?
I mean, it's not too exotic. And, like, technically, that would be an exotic name in D&D.
Daryl. How are you spelling it? Deryl?
Normal spelling.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Do most people go with more common names?
No, actually. I've only had one common name out of anybody. And that was, like, Shelby.
Shelby. I like Shelby. Shelby's a good name.
You hear that? You hear that, James? Sean likes your name.
Shelby's a good. I hope he went on a medicine like cleric focus, because Shelby is a good cleric name.
He went on a spiritual one. He's a monk. He's a Goliath monk.
That's great. That's perfect.
The 7 foot tall man with martial art skills that could kill a man with 2 hits. Remember
what about this?
Shelby. Yes.
I like that. You like that?
What?
I wrote on the Skype.
You messaged a thing! I'm not looking at... Jack.
Yeah.
I like Jack. What's his last name?
Oh, we gotta do a last name too?
Yes! Unless you want to, like, Jack the something. Or something.
This isn't Sonic Forces, okay?
I mean,
we gotta have a proper last name.
Jack Septiceye.
This is one of those cases where I just hit random until I get one that I like.
It's time to hit the rap name generator.
See, I know that this is all audio, so I want to keep the conversation going while we're trying to think of a last name.
I mean, while you're figuring out a last name, head on over to GameplayWare, wear.bigcartel.com, and use the promo code B&B Tavern to get free shipping on clothes. Or you can head on over to darksilverforge.com to use the promo code B&B Tavern there as well to get 15% off your purchase of fancy dice or tabletop accessories, and check out our newest sponsor, Cognitive Merchant, where you can go on our live streams and we'll be giving away some cool free stuff, and you can get some amazing DM kits.
Dang, you've researched that, or you've rehearsed that very, very commonly, very often.
Yes, I have.
I'm feeling something. Yes. It's like when you're when you're visiting a psychic and they're like, I'm seeing something, bits and pieces.
Yeah, it's like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon where they're like figuring out your Pokemon.
I feel like his last name starts with a C. And it's not because my last name is Chiplock. It's like C-C-A something. But the problem is it ends with a hard K and it would begin with a K. So I'm trying to figure out what would work. But I'm feeling like a
K-Thork? Jack K-Thork?
C-A-M.
Camthork.
Camthork. No, I feel like the last name would end with a soft. If the first name ends with a hard, like this isn't what I'm pitching like Cambridge, but like it would be a softer ending. It wouldn't be a hard
Camus.
Ending. What?
Camus.
C-A-M-U-S?
Yeah, or I-S.
Jack Camus. Camus with an I sounds...
Camus or Mus,
I think it would be Camus, or C-A-M-U-S, because with I-S, that feels more fitting as a first name. I don't know, it just feels that way, but sure. U-S in Latin, or I feel like, Latin has a lot of words that end in U-S. So
Jack Camus?
Yeah.
I like that. And how does Jack Camus sound in your head?
It's gonna be rough. I had like super spicy food, so it's hard for me.
Nice, great timing.
So you said he's about 4'11", and is he slim? You said, do they have a bit of
Stockbird? Sorry, that's a great joke. Check out Kimlin Tran from Snipper Clips. Stockbird, he's a hero.
I love Kimlin.
Kimlin made one of the best characters. This is an amazing character, but she made a hero that is forever a meme in our hearts. Stockbird.
Oh no.
Stockbird, the superhero with the traveling bard that translate, because he's like, squaw! And he's like, he said he wants to save your village. And then it's just like, we go like, Stockbird, he's a hero! And then it's like, he's like, I always pay my taxes.
And he's like, Stockbird doesn't pay his taxes. I pay my taxes.
Yeah.
Stockbird is not a citizen of whatever land we live in. He doesn't have to pay taxes.
Yeah, he filed for squaw!
Now I'm like, great. No. Because that was like really creative. I want to feel like, I want this character to be unique, and then it just turns out being like Rivali. But oh my God.
Please, no copyright. We're a small channel. We love you, Nintendo.
When I think about what he would sound like, a big inspiration for me, and a big inspiration for this whole interview, has been Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles.
Oh, what?
Because you had 4 different races. You had Selkie, you had Clavat, you had I'm trying to remember what the little onion people were. Because Selkie and Clavats were my favorite.
People.
Yuki? Something like that?
Maybe.
Hold on. Crystal Chronicles classes. Races. For Clavat, Lilty, Yuke, and Selkie. Yeah. So then they were very, very different. So I'm trying to think. What would he sound like?
Jack Camus. He's a hero of nature.
I'm not a stalker bird. I'm an earthwalker bird. So he would have a little bit of a bird to his voice, but he would try and be soft at the same time. So like whereas, a crazy bird might have, a very squawky presence to him. Jack would not be that way. He'd be more composed because he'd want to be, if you're going to talk with somebody, if you're going to try and use perception, you don't want to sound crazy. And he'd also want to be soft towards the animals. So there would be that little bit of a hint of beak where there's the clack when he talks, and it's going to have right, and it's going to, because his tongue is a little bit thicker because he has certain phrases. You said he's memorized certain phrases. Yes. So it's going, his mouth is going to be wide open a lot of the time. But he's going to be a little softer in his presence. Maybe that's because he wants to be sly. Maybe that's because he's trying to be soft to animals. So he wouldn't be very loud, but he would have a very nasal quality to his voice that's a little bit more breathy than gravelly.
I like this. I like all of it. And with that, Jack Camus has been born. And with that, Sean, where can people find you in the media of social?
Oh, man. They can find me on Facebook via my name, Sean Chiplock, SeanChiplock. They can find me on Twitter, Tumblr, Grindr, Pornhub, anywhere. No, they can find me on Twitter and Tumblr via... I'm a preferred member, darn it. They can find me on Twitter or Tumblr via @SonicMega, SonicMega. Are we going to have to redact that?
I think it might censor that for your own sake, so that way Nintendo still loves you.
I know. Please, go ahead.
I don't...
Jack Camus is taken, ladies.
Oh, all right.
He's taken by nature.
That's a great catchphrase. # taken by nature.
Taken by nature.
Yes, I like that. We're putting that on a shirt now, on our Shark Robot Soar.
Oh my God.
With that, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you don't, we won't force you to, but we do appreciate your support, and we have a new Patreon coming up soon. Only to keep an eye out for on that. And speaking of support, we appreciate your support. And speaking of support, Sean,
yes,
thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for guiding me through this. Oh man, I'm going to spend like the next hour being like, did I make all the right choices? Did I pick something that was unique enough? Maybe it's ironic that this happened so soon after Rivali, but I do know the elements are all there of what I'd want to do. Like, and I've always been a spellcaster person. I've always been a conjurer. Like in this game I most recently played, Operation Babel, I named a bunch of my party members after friends of mine, but my role was wizard/conjurer. His literal job was to have magic spells and also be able to make contracts with creatures. So even before this happened, I had already set a role for myself, and we were just kind of translating it into Dungeons and Dragons. But it also applies because I have had a lot of dreams that involve, like, even if it's a flightless species, that involve the power of flight. And or being able to fly, being able to hover. And so just that aspect that belongs to birds has always been a part of my psyche. So maybe people will find it coincidental that, I voiced Rivali and Teba before this happened, but I actually think a lot of qualities in this character are qualities that I would have already exhibited. Like if that human had elemental access to electricity, probably would have gone with that. But since it didn't, I felt more kinship with this.
Well, I'm glad. And we will see how he does in the season finale against the other people this season in a fight to the death.
Oh, no.
Yes! The other people from Season X. We won't say what season. He's coming back for the fight to the death with the other voice actor for the prize of having their self-portrait character on a t-shirt.
Oh, no. He's dead. He's roasted. Like, this was great.
We'll see you guys next episode. And we'll try to Such lack of... I will say this. The first season, a druid won the fight.
But see, now we can't have another druid win. That's not exciting.
No, that's fine. This is season. We had
He's
so.
dead.
We're
He is
on like
dead, and
season.
the dog. He is dead, and the dog that he made friends with will give him a whole 30 minutes before he starts eating his face.
No, he didn't have faith, Sean. This is season
All right,
something.
You're right. I'm gonna roll for my perception check.
Right.
Yes, I'm sure that I'm dead.
Sean. God. Well, we have faith in you being able to play good D&D, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, have faith, Sean.